Greetings and welcome to my Sassy Divine Journey, where we are powerfully feminine and divinely chaotic. Today's topic is casual sex dangerous for women? And now, to make sure we don't violate Sir YouTube's various rules, we will refer to casual sex as CS. Disclaimer. Please note the disclaimer. I acknowledge that this is a controversial topic. This is a difficult conversation, but I think it's crucial to embrace complex issues. I want you to know that I'm only discussing heterosexual women and heterosexual relationships. And now, I believe yes, CS is dangerous for women. And here is why. Now, when I talk of CS, I'm defining CS as friends with benefits, hookups, one-night stands, just any intimate relationship that is free of any sort of protection or provision. So any emotional, physical, spiritual, provision or protection, and that includes commitment, like we're dating each other exclusively, or we're married, or whatever. So there really are those two options. It really is no whatever, but you understand what I'm saying. It's a sexual relationship free of that. It's just that, and that is it. Okay? Now, to me, when you examine female anatomy, the human female body, it is a portal that receives, okay? There are various folds, creases, and openings, okay? When the man, he enters the woman in the act, he enters her, and in the act, he also, generally speaking, releases into her body. So when this happens during the act, there is an exchange, obviously, of a physical exchange, but there's also a spiritual exchange and energy exchange. The act itself is more complex than just a release, a physical release between two people. You are uniting yourself as in the, only one way possible. Two people become one physically and share and exchange. Like I said, spiritually, physically, emotionally, there is an exchange if the emotions are involved. The female body itself is receiving the male. So therefore, her anatomy, her health, the health of her reproductive system is at great risk every time this exchange occurs. Of course, the man, if he is not protected, he's at some risk too. I'm not saying the man is not at any risk. I'm talking about the woman. And I'm really focusing on the woman in a CS or just a S experience. Now, an important question to think about is, why do women these days, a lot of women, it's very common for women to either agree verbally or agree by omission to be in a CS relationship. Very often, I think sometimes these relationships happen, they develop because the woman has not stated her goals, her relationship goals in the beginning, and asked the man for his, so that they were on the same page. And so she kind of just goes with the flow, which is not, anti-feminine. Flow, we are flow. We, feminine creatures. We do flow. Okay. But, she goes with the flow in this in this circumstance, and later, maybe assume certain things are true because of other things that are happening, and then assumes they're in a relationship, assumes it's a committed relationship, ignores red flags because they're always present. We always have information about other people. We're getting it all the time. But a lot of time, women don't vet well before they get into the physical intimacy. They're not vetting. By vetting, I'm talking about examining the man she's seeing, finding out, learning about him, examining herself and her goals, and finding out if they are aligned. Is this a man you are in alignment with or can align with? So she goes with the flow and finds out, it's just, I thought, oh no, it's not that. And sometimes, because at this point, perhaps the act has already occurred, she is chemically bonded to that man. I say chemically, I'm talking because of the act. Because when the act happens, certain chemicals are released in the brain that sort of cause a bond between you and the man. Now, I'm going to refer to bonding again later, and when I talk about that, I'm talking about a different type of bonding, okay? At any rate, so, and then in some cases, some women think or want, I don't want to say they think they want, I'm saying they prefer CS. They prefer that. Sometimes women choose a CS because of a previous heartbreak or, some other unresolved inner pain. And they use CS as an outlet to connect with men. A way of connecting, but not quite connecting, if you know what I mean. Now, I want to talk about an age, okay? So here I'm talking about women over 40. Now, some women over 40 are in marriages, and so their sexual life is covered there, all right? They're in a protected union. They're protected. They have provision, emotional, spiritual, physical, bam. Because marriage gives us that. That's what the plus about marriage is, that marriage provides the protection and provision that we need as feminine creatures. So, outside of women who are married, outside of women over 40 who are married, women over 40 who are not married, unmarried, still wanting physical intimacy, which is totally healthy and normal. I think physical intimacy is an important element of a well-balanced life. So I'm not knocking that. However, we are now like in the age of the cougar, right? This is a woman over 40. She's very attractive, or she's very sexual, okay? Very sexy, and she takes a younger man as her lover, okay? Now, some of these unions are relationships, traditional, committed relationships, but some of them are casual, okay? Now, I think that while women over 40 still need physical intimacy, and that's normal, I think that seeking physical intimacy with a man that's significantly younger than you for that release, and it is a casual experience, is something of a diminished state of affairs. I think that diminishment of the feminine creature happens. It's a natural result of CS. Okay. It's just an act to have a release, and because the man is younger, he is quote unquote considered more able, and yes, most likely more able than a man her age. But I also think that very often in those situations, that woman lacks an ability to appropriately bond. And that's what I'm talking about here when I say that that's another natural result of a life of CS. Okay? You're entering this act that is highly, it's not just physical, like I said, it's spiritual. It's a transaction, it's an exchange. Okay, I don't want to say it's a transaction, it's an exchange. In every physical, emotional, spiritual exchange. That's what it's meant to be in its highest form. But when you take and you say, okay, I'm going to strip all that off and I'm just going to do the physical. I'm not going to do any of that other fluffy stuff. I'm just going to do this. 1, 2, 3, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir. Over time, that woman's femininity diminishes. She takes on a harder masculine essence, okay? And she's looking at men as more disposable, as something to actually in the CS, that woman begins to see men as transactional creatures, just someone I get off and bam, that's it. I get up, I go home. Thank you, thank you very much, sir. I think that that's a natural result of a consistent habit of CS. Okay, CS relationships diminishes your feminine energy, diminishes your ability to appropriately bond, pair bond, or mate with a man. It diminishes your perspective of men. You are more objectifying yourself and objectifying others. That honor for masculine energy and the honor and treasure for your own feminine energy ebbs away slowly over time. And these are the results that I see that come from CS relationships over time, okay? Not to speak of the risk of unwanted pregnancies, STI, increasing your partner count because you're just sort of using the act as a disposable. It's a disposable measure, it's like, okay, I need, thank you, I get, thank you, goodbye. A couple days later, I need, I get, thank you, goodbye. It becomes very, like microwave intimacy. Just grab and go. Grab and go. All right. And of course, the health of that woman's reproductive system and her overall health, because the state of affairs that's happening in a woman's reproductive life, her system, will affect her larger health. That's why it's so important for us to continue to go and see our midwives and gynecologists, no matter what is going on, whether we're married, single, celibate, living the whole hot girl summer, whatever we're doing. If we're celibate, we still need to see the physician to make sure that all is well, because when things are not well down there, they can be unwell for a significant period of time and go unnoticed. And very often, by the time you get a red flag, you're pretty well into a situation that could be quite life-threatening. So, in conclusion, for me, a healthy physical intimacy, to me, a healthy sex life is an essential part of a healthy, zesty, joyful life experience. But we must not fall into the dark hole of CS. I know we've been told by society that we have the same us needs as men, and we're, for us, we just need to do the same thing they want to do, just get off and get on to the next one. I don't believe that. Those things were told to us to sell magazines. I'm looking at you, Cosmopolitan. We need to prioritize proper vetting of the men that we date, put our goals in the front of our hearts, in the front of our mind, and then when we start seeing someone, let them know, well, this is what I'm looking for, and find out from them what they're looking for. And if it's not the same, be good with moving on. Don't fall into a CS. Don't choose CS as a natural release in life, because that's not it. That's not the highest form of your womanhood. So what are your thoughts about CS? Do you think life after 40 does not require physical intimacy? Please share with me below in the comments. And as always, lovely, until we meet again at the crossroads of Sassy Lane and Divine Boulevard, go! Get back your ooh!